This is one of my favorite simple recipes that is so hearty and delicious. I love it. We're going to start with our 9x13 and we're going to put an entire bag of rice in there. I chose brown. You can go with white if that's what you like. Go for it. We used an ungreased 9x13 and then we started putting in our sweet white onion. We're going to put that right down there on the bottom, these beautiful little discs. I always think this turns out so beautifully. I love it. And you're just going to make sure that everything goes to the sides and the corners, just like always. You're going to place them in there. Make sure you put the entire onion. We've chopped up a whole white onion to go into this. Now, if you're not an onion fan, that's absolutely fine. Any of these kind of things, you are welcome to change to make sure that you and your family absolutely love it. But this is just a hearty dish that I enjoy doing because there's only so many ways that you can cook certain kinds of meat, and having something new and different is one of my favorites. Now we're going to put in these beautiful red and yellow peppers. I love these kind of peppers. The orange are great too. Throw them all in. Now what you will often notice in my cooking is a severe lack of green pepper. I do not like green peppers. I think they taste weird. But now these other colors, I'll eat them all day long. The red, the yellow, the orange, I love them, especially if they're roasted. Ooh. But we're going to go ahead and start with the little rings. We've gone ahead and taken out all the seeds. We've cut them up. And per the usual, we have absolutely filled our dish. It goes to each side. It goes to every corner, set and ready. Beautiful. I wish you'd look at that. Gosh, that's already started off so beautifully. Perfect. Now we're going to set that aside for a minute while we get ready for our chicken. Exactly. We're going to go ahead and get to our protein. First, we're going to sprinkle a whole lot of paprika over the top. Love this stuff. It always brings out such a strong, beautiful flavor. Next is garlic powder. Same for it. You're just going to give a very generous sprinkle because what this is mostly a rub. So next up, black pepper. Again, you're just going to sprinkle it just so it barely covers the top of all of your chicken. Now, I love legs. You can do this with thighs. You can do it with breasts, tenders. Here's that wonderful rub that I use in almost all of my recipes, especially if it's got a meat element to it. I really enjoy that rub. Now, whenever you've got all those ingredients in there, you're just going to literally roll your chicken around in it. We've washed the chicken, but we've left the skin on it, okay? You want to make sure you leave the skin on there because that's what's going to hold in all of the flavor. Now, I've seen some people that they like to stuff flavoring things up under the skin while it cooks, bakes, boils, whatever. We're probably not going to go that deep with it today. It just ain't that serious. But we are going to cover it really, really well. Now, I want y'all to notice we got gloves on today, okay? Now, some of y'all been hollering at me about not wearing gloves. So I took the note, and I went ahead and wore gloves today to make sure that this was going to be something we wouldn't have to worry about. But again, please make sure that you go from the bottom to the top. Yes, make sure that every single piece, every morsel of meat you got in there gets covered with that beautiful spice rub, okay? Good. So, sometimes people will like to use like a wash on something like this, like an egg or a milk. But I found that usually the chicken is moist enough whenever you wash it that all you have to do is just really roll it around in that rub and everything gets covered really, really nicely. No problem at all. Now, if you notice that there's some left over in the bottom of the bowl, you can scrape that out and put it on top of the dish whenever you're finished. Easy peasy. Now we'll bring back the rest of our rice with our onions and our pepper rings, and we're going to go ahead and start to place these drumsticks, okay? Do you call them drumsticks or legs where y'all are? I'm just curious. I know that that's a little bit of a different situation depending on where in the nation you live, but I always call them legs. You can put them here zigzag, you can put them in side to side. I think that if you place them like this, you're going to have a much easier time getting everything into your pan. We call it chicken in a jar. I love it because you've got this glass pan, and I just really enjoy this. Number one, it's beautiful. Number two, it just comes together so easily. I love it. Number three, it's something different that my family doesn't get that often, and that is always a big deal. You know, you can serve chicken and rice a million different ways, but if you don't keep it interesting, folks are absolutely going to lose interest. The next thing you know, somebody's going to whine, and I'm going to have to holler at somebody. I don't love it. So with this, we've got the color, we've got the flavors, and we've got that beautiful rub on the top to make sure that this all comes together beautifully, and it's not something that they're used to seeing or tasting. So it's going to be really good. And see, if we organize it just a little bit better, we'll get even more of these in. Yes, now see, we've packed it in there, but good too, and I love it. Because I never like to just kind of like leave things on the side. You know, if you've got a little smaller dish that you can do this again with, like a smaller, maybe to-go size situation, great. But also I want to make sure we get as many in this dish as we possibly can. Now what I'm going to be doing is pouring just a little bit of chicken stock over the top, okay? We've got to make sure that that rice on the bottom gets good and moist. You're going to pour that until it covers the rice, and you can see it there on the bottom right corner, okay? Now what we're going to do is add a cup. Now you can choose whichever one you want with this. You can either put a cup of milk or a cup of sweet cream in there, and that's going to add even more moisture to it, just to make sure that that rice comes out rich and creamy and beautiful. Now we're going to cover the whole thing in aluminum foil, okay? Put that down. My granny used to call it tinfoil, and it was just so great. Anybody out there still call it tinfoil? I don't know, but it always makes me think of her whenever we do. But you're going to cover that, and your oven is going to be preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? That equals out to about, I want to say, 180 centigrade, just in case that's what you're cooking with. And here's what we've got. After 40 minutes of baking, you've got this beautiful situation ready to go. You've got that perfectly brown chicken on the top, those tender vegetables in the middle, and then you've got that perfect rice underneath. I wish you just look at this, how beautiful. Oh my goodness. And you can see those spices on there. God, that's so good. Eat up, y'all.